The kindness at the interstellar station, was full of noise and movement. Humans, aliens, and machines all rushed through the wide halls, carrying bags and crates. Voices mixed with the sound of engines starting and doors sliding open. Daniel, a young human traveler, stood near the ticket counters, waiting for his shuttle to arrive. He had always loved space stations. They felt alive, like cities floating among the stars. But today, he felt a little tired, and he just wanted to get home. As he looked around, something caught his attention. Near the corner, close to a broken machine, stood an old alien woman. Her skin was pale gray, her back bent, her clothes simple and worn. She pressed her long fingers against the screen again and again, but the machine only blinked with a red error sign. People passed by without looking at her. Some even turned their faces away, pretending not to see. Daniel frowned. It was clear she was struggling. She looked small, weak, and lost in the middle of the busy crowd. He stepped closer and heard her quiet voice, almost like a whisper. "I just need a ticket. Just one ticket home," she said softly in broken human language. Daniel glanced at the machine. It showed the price for the travel ticket, a number that was not very high. But the alien woman held nothing in her hands. No credit chips, no coins. Her eyes looked tired, and there was something heavy in them, something like sorrow. For a moment, Daniel thought, it's not my problem. He could just walk away like everyone else. But his heart told him something different. Without thinking too much, he pulled out his travel card, swiped it, and paid for the ticket. The machine printed a small, glowing card. The travel pass. Daniel took it and placed it gently in the alien woman's hand. Her long fingers trembled. As she held it, she looked up at him with wide eyes, her voice shaking. You paid." Daniel nodded with a small smile. "It's all right. Now you can travel," he said, for a second. Her old face seemed to shine, almost glowing. She whispered, "Kindness still lives among your kind." Before Daniel could answer, the entire station shook. The floor trembled as a loud alarm echoed across the hall. Red lights flashed, and a robotic voice shouted, "Warning! Unidentified ships entering orbit. People gasped and began to panic. Some ran toward the exit gates. Others dropped their bags, shouting in fear. Daniel looked up at the giant windows of the station. There, against the dark sky, 3 massive ships appeared. They were not ordinary ships. They were enormous, sharp, and shining with silver armor. Each one carried strange, glowing symbols and weapons that looked powerful enough to destroy a city. Gasps spread through the station. Someone shouted, "Elite warships! We are under attack!" Guards rushed to their stations. Soldiers lifted their rifles, and security bots rolled into position. Everyone was ready for a fight. Daniel's heart pounded. He had seen ships before, but nothing like this. Nothing so terrifying. The old alien woman, however, did not move, while everyone else panicked. She stood completely calm, still holding the ticket Daniel had given her. Her tired eyes now looked different. They glowed with strength, wisdom, and something powerful hidden inside. Daniel felt a chill. It was as if she had been waiting for this moment. She turned her face toward the great windows where the ships hovered, and whispered something in a language Daniel could not understand. Then she looked at Daniel again. Her voice was calm, but heavy with meaning. "You have done more than you know," she said. "You have changed everything." The station continued to shake as the 3 warships descended slowly. The light from their engines filled the halls with blue fire. People screamed. Children cried, and guards shouted orders. But Daniel only stared at the old alien. Who exactly was she? Why did the arrival of the ships feel connected to her? As the warships lowered themselves just outside the station, their weapons glowing like suns, Daniel realized his simple act of kindness had opened a door to something far greater than he could imagine. The old alien still stood beside him, calm and unafraid, her long fingers closing tightly around the glowing ticket. In that moment, Daniel knew this was only the beginning. Asterisk. The alien's true identity. The station was shaking with fear. Crowds pushed against each other, rushing for the emergency exits. Children cried, bags fell to the floor, and alarms screamed louder and louder outside the giant windows. The three massive warships hovered like shadows of death, their weapons glowing with fire. Daniel's heart raced. He stood frozen near the corner, still beside the old alien woman. Around them, security guards pointed their weapons at the sky. Unsure if they should shoot or wait, the robotic voice kept repeating, "Warning. Unidentified elite ships in orbit." Daniel turned to the alien woman. He expected to see terror in her eyes like everyone else, but she was calm, almost peaceful. Her wrinkled hands clutched the glowing travel ticket he had given her. She whispered something again in that strange language, words Daniel could not understand. Then she stepped forward. Slowly, the soldiers saw her and shouted, "Move away from the human. Stay back." But she did not stop. Her small bent figure walked with surprising strength. People stepped aside without even knowing why, as if something about her demanded respect. Daniel followed, confused and afraid. "Wait, where are you going?" he asked, but she only glanced back at him with a soft smile. That smile did not feel weak anymore. It felt powerful, knowing. Like she carried a secret larger than the whole station. The lights above flickered. The three ships outside shifted, their position now facing the station directly. Everyone screamed, thinking an attack was coming. The guards raised their rifles, their hands shaking, but instead of firing, the ships stopped moving. They floated silently, waiting. Like soldiers waiting for a command, the old alien woman raised her hand. Her long, thin fingers spread apart, glowing faintly with a soft blue light. The warships immediately responded, lowering their weapons and releasing a low, echoing sound, almost like a bow of respect. Gasps filled the station. Daniel's mouth went dry. The alien woman, who only minutes ago seemed helpless and poor, was suddenly standing like a queen before an army. The people around them whispered in shock, "Who is she? What is happening?" The guards froze, unsure whether to shoot or salute. Finally, one of them shouted, "Identify yourself. Who are you?" The woman lowered her hand and turned back toward Daniel. Her old voice carried a strength that filled the hall. "I am not what you believe," she said, her words slow but clear. Her eyes glowed with a strange silver light. "I am Tashari, last elder of the Celian Council and rightful commander of the fleet you see above." Silence fell over the station. Even the alarms seemed to fade into the background. Daniel could not believe what he was hearing. An elder of the Celian Council. The name was famous, whispered across colonies and stations. The Celians were one of the most powerful alien civilizations, their council controlling fleets that could crush planets. Daniel's thoughts spun wildly. He looked at her simple clothes, her bent back, the way no one had noticed her. And now he realized she had been hiding, moving through the galaxy in disguise. But why? She walked closer to him, her glowing eyes never leaving his face. "When I was abandoned, no one helped me. No one even looked," she said, her voice soft but carrying sorrow. "But you, human, you offered me kindness without knowing who I am." She lifted the travel ticket in her hand, the glowing card shining like a jewel. "This small act has awakened more than you can imagine." Daniel felt his legs weaken. He wanted to speak, but no words came out. People around them stared, whispering and pointing. Some bowed in respect, others ran in fear. The guards lowered their weapons slowly, uncertain. The warships outside lit their engines, casting powerful beams of light across the station. Daniel's heart pounded as he realized the ships were not threatening. They were waiting, ready to serve her. She raised her hand again, and the ships responded like loyal hounds, circling the station with military precision. Then she turned back to Daniel and said something that made his blood run cold. "Because of you, our path has changed." She leaned closer, her glowing eyes locking on his. "You, human, are now bound to us." Daniel stepped back in shock. "Me? Why me?" "I only bought you a ticket," he said, his voice shaking. Her thin smile returned, a smile that was no longer gentle but full of mystery. "There are no small actions," she whispered in the eyes of the stars. "Every choice carries." "Wait." Before Daniel could answer, a deep sound vibrated through the air. It was a voice, not from the station, not from any human mouth, but from the giant warships outside. The three ships spoke as one, their echo filling the station. "Commander." "Tashari." "Orders." Everyone froze. The old alien woman, "No." The commander lifted her glowing hand. Her next words were clear, powerful, and final. "Stand down, but prepare to depart." The ships obeyed instantly, their weapons dimming, their lights shifting to calm colors. The panic in the station slowly quieted, replaced with confusion and awe. People stared at Daniel, whispers spreading like fire. Who is he? Why is the elder speaking to him? Daniel stood frozen, his mind full of questions, his heart pounding with fear. He had only wanted to do something kind. Now, somehow, he was standing beside the leader of an alien fleet, tied to her by fate, and in the back of his mind, one thought kept repeating, "What have I gotten myself into?" The commander's eyes glowed brighter as she placed a hand on his shoulder. "You will learn soon enough," she said. And outside, the three warships roared like thunder, waiting for the journey that was about to begin. A dangerous reward. The station was still full of whispers and frightened faces. The three alien warships floated outside like silent giants, no longer aiming their weapons, but still terrifying to look at. Guards held their rifles low, unsure if they should relax or stay ready. Civilians huddled in corners, afraid to breathe too loudly. In the middle of all this stood Daniel, an ordinary human, who only minutes ago had done something so small, paying for an old alien's ticket. Now, that same old alien had revealed herself as Commander Tashari, a leader of one of the most feared alien fleets in the galaxy. And worst of all, she had chosen him. Her glowing eyes had told him more than her words. He was bound to something much bigger than himself. Two armored alien guards appeared suddenly, stepping out from the shadows of the station. They were tall, with silver armor that seemed alive. Moving like liquid across their bodies, they bowed before Tashari, their deep voices vibrating through the floor. "Commander, the flagship awaits." Daniel felt his stomach twist. The flagship. Was she really about to take him with her? He wanted to say no, to step back, to vanish into the crowd. But before he could, Tashari spoke, her voice commanding. "This human comes with me." Gasps spread through the hall. The guards looked at each other but did not question her. They turned to Daniel, their glowing helmets reflecting his pale, frightened face. "Follow," they ordered. Daniel's legs moved on their own. He wanted to resist, but something about Tashari's presence held him like a chain. She walked beside him, holding the glowing ticket he had given her, almost like it was a holy object. People stared as he passed, their whispers biting into his ears. Why him? Is he important? What did he do? The docking bay doors opened, and Daniel's breath caught in his throat. There it was, the flagship. It dwarfed every other ship in the port, its silver hull glowing with streams of light, its sharp wings stretching like the arms of a god. As he walked closer, he saw strange alien symbols carved into the metal, symbols that pulsed like they were alive. The ramp lowered with a deep hum, and Daniel followed Tashari inside. The moment he stepped onto the ship, the air felt different. It was cleaner, sharper, filled with energy. The walls shimmered with moving patterns, like the ship itself was breathing. Strange creatures worked as crew, some with 4 arms, some floating without legs, all bowing as Tashori passed. Daniel whispered, "This is insane," but Tashari only looked at him and said, "This is destiny." They reached a vast hall, its ceiling so high it disappeared into glowing mist. Soldiers in shining armor stood in perfect rows, thousands of them. Their eyes locked forward. When Tashari entered, every single one bowed, the sound echoing like thunder. Daniel froze, his chest tightening. She was truly their leader, and he was standing right beside her. A chair of silver and crystal rose from the floor, shaped like a throne. Tashari sat upon it, her week-old appearance now gone. Though her body was still frail, her presence filled the hall with power. She looked at Daniel and said, "You are not here as a prisoner. Human, you are here as my guest." Daniel blinked, confused. "Guest? You pulled me from my life and dragged me onto your warship," he said, his voice shaky. Tashori tilted her head, her silver eyes calm. "You gave freely when others turned away. Kindness without reason, courage without knowing. For that, you will be honored." Suddenly, the soldiers stomped their feet. A sound like a single heartbeat filling the hall. A shimmering table appeared in front of Daniel. On it lay objects unlike anything he had seen. A glowing crystal sphere, a dagger of black metal, and a cloak woven from strands of light. "These are gifts from the Celian fleet," Tashari said, "symbols of our trust." Daniel swallowed hard. He didn't want gifts, he wanted answers. "Why me?" he asked, his voice breaking. "I don't understand. I only bought you a ticket." Tashari leaned forward on her throne. Her eyes burned brighter. "There are no small actions in the eyes of fate," she said, her voice echoing through the hall. "The universe watches, and today it watched you." The soldiers pounded their fists against their armor, chanting words Daniel could not understand. The sound grew louder, filling his head, making him feel both proud and terrified. He clenched his fists, his heart beating fast. "What happens now?" he asked, almost whispering. Tashari stood slowly from her throne, her frail figure somehow towering over him. "Now," she said, her voice heavy with meaning, "you stand between 2 worlds, your people and mine. And because of your kindness, the future of both may change." Daniel felt cold. He didn't want that kind of responsibility. He was just one man. One traveler, not a leader, not a soldier, but Tashari's words were final. "You will not return as you were, human. From this moment, your life belongs to the stars, outside." The 3 warships moved into new formation, their engines roaring like storms. The entire flagship shook with power, as if preparing for a journey. Daniel stood frozen in the center of the hall, surrounded by alien soldiers, glowing lights, and the eyes of a commander who believed he was something more than he ever thought he could be. And in that terrifying moment, he realized something. His act of kindness was not a gift, it was a chain, and it had bound him to a destiny far larger and far more dangerous than he could ever escape. The human underwatch, Daniel sat in silence as the flagship moved through space. The sound of the engines hummed beneath his feet, a deep rhythm that reminded him he was far from Earth. Around him, the ship's walls shifted and glowed with patterns that looked alive, as if the vessel itself was listening. He could not tell if it was metal, light, or something in between. Guards stood near the doors, tall, armored figures who never spoke. Their glowing helmets turned toward him each time he shifted in his seat. It was clear they were watching him, always. Daniel felt like a bug caught in glass, trapped, studied, and powerless. Earlier, Tashari had ordered that he be given a private chamber when the guards escorted him there. He had expected a cell, Instead, he found a room filled with strange beauty. The bed was made of floating silver strands that shaped themselves to his body. The walls glowed with images of stars moving as if the whole galaxy was outside his window. It was more like a palace than a prison, but even in that comfort, he felt uneasy everywhere he went. Eyes followed him. Crew members bowed when Tashari was near, but when their eyes flicked toward Daniel, he saw suspicion, even hostility. He was not one of them, and he knew it. At mealtime, he was brought to a hall with long tables. Aliens of many forms ate in silence, their plates glowing with strange foods. Some had translucent skin with light moving under it. Others had faces hidden behind shifting masks. The food placed before Daniel was warm and glowing, a dish that smelled sweet and sharp at the same time. He touched it carefully, wondering if it would burn his fingers. It melted softly on his tongue, filling him with warmth he had never felt from food before. But as he ate, he noticed whispers, aliens leaning toward each other, speaking in low voices while their eyes flicked toward him. He caught words he could not understand, but the tone was clear. Suspicion, doubt, anger. They did not want him here. Later, when he returned to his chamber, he found a message glowing on the wall. The letters shifted into human language so he could read them. The commander trusts you, but not all do. Beware. The words disappeared before he could show anyone. He sat on the edge of his strange bed, his heart pounding. Was it a warning or a threat? Hours passed, or maybe days. Time on the flagship felt strange. Daniel wandered through corridors, guided by guards who never spoke. He saw training halls where alien soldiers moved in perfect unison, blades of light flashing in their hands. He saw chambers filled with weapons that could burn entire cities with a single shot. And he saw laboratories where glowing crystals floated in tanks, pulsing like hearts. Every sight reminded him how fragile Earth was compared to this fleet. If these ships turned hostile, humans would not stand a chance. He began to understand the weight of Chesheri's words. His kindness had placed him in the middle of a storm. One evening, Chesheri called for him. He entered a chamber filled with floating spheres that projected maps of stars. She stood in the center, her frail form lit by the glow, her silver eyes fixed on him. "Do you see, human?" she asked, pointing at a cluster of glowing systems. "These are the worlds your people do not yet know. Worlds our fleet protects. Worlds we can also destroy." Daniel swallowed, his voice unsteady. "Why show me this? I'm no leader. I don't command anyone." Tashari's Sci softened, but her voice remained sharp. "You are more than you think. Sometimes the smallest hand tips the largest scale." He shook his head. "I didn't ask for this. I don't want to be in the middle of your war." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You already are," she said. "Your people are watched by the Council. Some see you as allies, others as threats. Your act of kindness has given us reason to pause. But there are those who will not forgive, not forget." Daniel felt a cold shiver run down his spine. So this was the truth. Earth was under judgment, and his simple act had delayed that judgment, but maybe not erased it. When he left the chamber, the guards escorted him back, their silent steps echoing in the endless halls. Daniel's thoughts churned. He could not tell if he was a guest, a symbol, or a prisoner. All he knew was that his life was no longer his own. That night, as he lay on the glowing silver strands of his bed, he heard something outside his chamber. A whisper, soft, almost like breath. He stood and pressed his ear against the shimmering wall. A voice spoke in a language he barely understood. But one word was clear: human. His chest tightened. Someone was watching him, not just the guards, but others. And the feeling was growing stronger every hour. He was under watch, not just as a human, but as a piece in a game he did not yet understand. Outside, the flagship soared among the stars. The 3 warships shifted formation again, their engines glowing like suns, and Daniel, lying awake in fear and wonder, knew one truth: his kindness had given him a place among giants. But giants were dangerous, and one wrong step could crush him forever. The secret test: Daniel could not sleep. The silver strands of his bed shifted under him, soft and warm, but his mind refused to rest. Everywhere he turned, he saw the glowing eyes of Tishari, the whispering soldiers, and the endless warships. Outside the windows, he kept hearing her words. Your act of kindness has changed everything. Changed everything for who? For Earth? For the aliens? Or just for him? The weight of it pressed on him like a stone. He had never wanted power, never wanted responsibility. Yet now it clung to him like chains. The next morning, what he thought was morning, the guards came. Their silver armor gleamed as they stood at his door, silent as always. One of them spoke in a deep voice that vibrated through the walls. The commander requests your presence. Daniel followed, his legs heavy. They led him through halls he had not seen before. Corridors lined with glowing runes, doors that pulsed with light as they passed. Finally, they entered a vast chamber, circular and dark. At its center stood Tishari, her frail form surrounded by floating orbs of light. Daniel stopped, feeling uneasy. What is this place? Chari's silver eyes fixed on him. This is the chamber of proof, she said softly. You think you are here by chance, but chance does not command fleets, nor sway councils. Today you will face a test. Daniel's chest tightened. A test. I never asked for this. I didn't want any of this. Her gaze sharpened. No one asks for destiny, human, but when it comes, only the worthy may hold it. The floating orbs glowed brighter. Filling the chamber with shifting images, he saw Earth, small and fragile, floating in the dark. He saw the alien fleets circling like predators, their weapons ready. Then the image changed. He saw fire. Cities burning, humans screaming as alien weapons tore the ground apart. Daniel stumbled back, his heart racing. Stop. I don't want to see this. Tishari's voice cut through the visions. This is not cruelty. This is truth. Your world stands on the edge. One wrong step, and it will fall. One right choice, and it may rise. Daniel clenched his fists. And what does this have to do with me? I'm just one man. Her frail body seemed to glow brighter, her voice carrying power. You are the measure. The one who acted when others turned away. The council will not trust a people who walk past the weak. They will trust only if you prove that kindness is not weakness, but strength. The orbs shifted again, forming a doorway of light. You must walk through, she said. Inside lies your test, and you must face it alone. Daniel's throat felt dry. But something inside him, fear, anger, pride forced him forward. The guards remained behind, their glowing helmets watching in silence. He stepped into the doorway, light swallowing him whole. The next moment, he stood in a barren place. The ground was cracked, the air dry, the sky filled with dark clouds. He turned and realized he was alone. The chamber was gone, the guards gone, even Cheshire was gone. Ahead of him, he saw two figures. One was a human child, small and crying, trapped under a pile of heavy stone. The other was a young alien soldier, wounded, bleeding, his eyes full of pain. Both reached out to him. Both whispered the same word: help. Daniel froze. He could only reach one of them. The child looked helpless. The alien soldier looked dangerous. Which one should he choose? He ran to the child first, his hands pulling at the stones. The boy's face was pale, tears cutting through the dust on his cheeks. Daniel grunted, using all his strength, until the stones rolled away. The child gasped, clutching his hand. Thank you. But when Daniel turned back, the alien soldier was still there, eyes fading. Daniel rushed to him too, though he feared the sharp armor. The alien's long claws, he tore cloth from his own clothes, pressing it against the wound. The alien coughed, staring at him in shock. "You would save me." Daniel breathed hard, sweat dripping from his face. Yes, because life is life. No matter what form it takes, the clouds above rumbled, the ground shook. Suddenly, the world around him dissolved into light. He was back in the chamber, the orbs floating calmly, Tashari standing before him. Her silver eyes shone with something Daniel had never seen before. Respect. "You chose both," she said, her voice quiet but full of meaning, "even when you thought it impossible. You tried, you gave without fear." This is what the council needed to see. Daniel shook his head, his chest rising and falling. That wasn't a test, that was a trap. No one should have to choose between lives. Tashari's lips curved into a faint smile. Exactly. And yet, many would have chosen one, or walked away. You chose to try for all. The chamber dimmed, the orbs fading. Tashari stepped closer, placing her frail hand on his shoulder. "Because of you, Earth has not been condemned. But know this, the council is not united. Some will fight to destroy your people still. Your test has only begun." Daniel swallowed hard. So it was true. His simple kindness at the station had turned into a chain of trials, every step pulling him deeper into a storm between worlds. As the guards escorted him out, Daniel realized the truth. He had passed this test, but there would be more, and each one would be harder than the last. The choice. Daniel stood outside the chamber of proof, his heart still racing from what he had just faced. His hands shook, his breath came uneven, and his mind replayed the vision again and again. The child, the soldier, the impossible choice. He had tried to save both, and somehow that decision had given Earth another chance. But Chowri's words haunted him. Your test has only begun. The guards led him back to his chamber. Their glowing helmets cold and silent. Daniel sat on the strange silver bed, pressing his palms against his face. He was tired, but he knew rest would not come, for outside the warships still circled like predators, and inside he was still watched. Hours passed before Tashari called him again. This time, the guards brought him to a vast council chamber aboard the flagship. It was larger than anything he had seen. Yet, a hall of light and shadows, seats shaped from crystal and steel rose in a circle, each one holding a figure cloaked in alien colors. Their eyes glowed in different shades: gold, blue, red, watching him as if he were prey. Tashari stepped forward, her frail form lit by the glow, her voice strong and clear. "Honored council, I bring before you the human who chose kindness where others would not." Her words echoed through the hall. But Daniel felt the weight of anger in the air. Some of the cloaked aliens leaned forward, their expressions sharp with doubt. One alien with golden eyes hissed, "This human is weak. His kind are violent. They spread like disease. Why should we listen?" Another with blue skin raised her voice. His action was small, a coin for a ticket, nothing more. How can this prove his people are worthy? Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to speak, but fear gripped his throat. Dozens of eyes burned into him, waiting, judging. Tashari turned her head toward him and gave the smallest nod. It was his moment, his chance, and maybe his only one. Daniel stepped forward, his voice shaky at first. "I didn't know who she was when I helped her," he said. "I didn't think about reward. I didn't think about power. I only saw someone in need, and I acted." He paused, his eyes sweeping across the glowing council. "That's what humans do. Yes, we fight. Yes, we make mistakes. But we also care. We protect. We stand up for each other, even when it costs us." The hall stirred with whispers. The alien with golden eyes spat empty words. Humans destroy more than they save. Daniel's voice grew stronger. Then look at I am not a soldier. Not a leader, just a traveler. Yet I am here because I chose kindness if one ordinary man can make a difference. Imagine what billions of us could do if given the chance. The words hung in the air like fire. Some of the council looked uneasy, some angry, but a few leaned back as if considering his point. Chari's eyes glowed brighter, pride flickering in their depths, but the golden-eyed alien rose from his seat, his voice booming. This is dangerous, Commander. This human twists words like a blade. If we trust his kind, it may cost us everything. Others began to argue, their voices clashing like thunder. Some shouted for peace, others for war. Daniel stood frozen in the center, powerless. This was no longer just about him. It was about Earth itself. And then Tashori raised her frail hand. The chamber fell silent instantly. Her voice was soft, but it cut through the hall like steel. The choice must be made. She turned her glowing eyes toward Daniel. You, human, will speak one final word, peace or war. Your voice will decide what path we take. Daniel's blood ran cold. Him. Decide peace or war for his entire planet. The council stared, waiting. Cheshar's face was calm, but her eyes burned with expectation. His thoughts spun wildly. If he chose war, Earth would fight but be destroyed. If he chose peace, would humans be forced into submission? Neither path was simple. Both carried risk. He closed his eyes, taking a deep breath, his heart pounding like drums. When he opened them, his voice was steady. Peace, he said. Not because we are weak, not because we fear you, but because strength without mercy is only destruction. If there is even one chance for humans and Celians to stand together, we must take it. The chamber filled with silence. The council members whispered again, their glowing eyes shifting, their cloaks rustling. Some shook their heads in anger, others bowed slightly as if accepting. Finally, Tashari spoke. Then, it is decided. The human has chosen peace. The council's lights dimmed, their figures fading into shadows as the chamber emptied. Daniel stood trembling, his knees weak, his choice echoing in his chest like thunder. Chari walked to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. You have done well. But remember, not all agree. Some will fight your choice, some will come for you. Daniel's stomach tightened. He had spoken for peace, but he had also made enemies. Enemies powerful enough to burn worlds as the flagship shifted course. Engines roaring into the stars. Daniel realized the truth. The choice had been made. But the storm was only beginning, and now every alien eye in the galaxy would be watching him, the human who spoke for Earth. The turning point, the flagship drifted through the endless dark, its silver wings shining like blades against the stars. Inside, Daniel sat alone in his chamber, his mind heavy with the weight of what he had just done. He had spoken for peace, standing before the Celian Council, but his choice had not ended the danger. If anything, it had made him a target. The walls of his chamber shifted softly, glowing with patterns of light. But instead of comfort, Daniel only felt a cold unease. He remembered Cheshari's warning. Some will fight your choice. Some will come for you, and he knew it was true. The council had been divided, their voices sharp, their anger clear. A soft chime rang at his door. The silver surface melted open, and Tashari entered. Her frail form glowing in the dim light. Her silver eyes studied him, calm but heavy with thought. You chose well, human, she said. Your words carried strength, but words alone do not end wars. Daniel looked at her, exhaustion in his face. I'm just one man. How can I carry this burden? I didn't ask to lead anyone. I didn't ask to decide for Earth. Tashari stepped closer, her thin hand resting lightly on his shoulder. True leaders never ask. Destiny calls them. Before Daniel could reply, alarms echoed through the ship. The floor shook, the walls pulsed red, and the robotic voice thundered. Warning, hostile fleet detected. Daniel jumped to his feet, fear rushing through him. Who is it? Another enemy. Tashari's eyes narrowed. No, not another enemy. Our own, she said, her voice bitter. Those within the fleet who reject your choice, who see humans as nothing but prey. The ship vibrated as shockwaves rippled outside. Daniel ran to the wide window and gasped. Dozens of warships circled, smaller but fast, their weapons glowing bright. They aimed not at Earth, but at the flagship itself. They're attacking you. He whispered. They're attacking us, Tessari corrected, her eyes burning silver. The guards rushed in, their armor alive with light. Commander, orders. They shouted. Tashari raised her hand, her frail figure now blazing with power. Stand ready, but do not strike first. Daniel stared in disbelief. They're about to fire. You can't just wait. Her eyes turned to him, calm but unyielding. This is your turning point, human, not mine. If you truly believe in peace, then stop this with your voice, not with our guns. Daniel froze, his heart pounding. Him? Speak to hostile ships, aliens who already hated him. But he remembered the council, remembered the test, remembered the child and the soldier. If he walked away now, Earth would be nothing but ash. The guards led him to a communication hall. Spheres of light floated around him, pulsing with energy. A holographic image appeared, showing the faces of alien captains. Their eyes filled with fury. One spat. The human speaks. This is an insult. Another growled. Earth must burn. Weakness cannot live beside strength. Daniel swallowed, his voice shaking at first. If strength means crushing the weak, then you are no better than the monsters you claim to fight. The aliens roared in anger, but he pressed on. Look at me. I am human, and yet I stand here. In your hall, not with weapons, not with power, only with truth. The hall trembled as his words echoed through the spheres. You call us weak, but it was weakness you tested when Tashari stood alone at the station, and none of you moved. None of you cared, only I did, and now you call that weakness. No, it is courage. Courage you fear because you do not understand it. The alien captains shouted over each other, but some fell silent, their glowing eyes softening with doubt. Daniel's voice grew stronger. You want war, but war will destroy us all. You want conquest, but conquest leaves nothing worth ruling. If peace is weakness, then let me be weak. And let that weakness be the strength that saves us all. The spheres pulsed brighter, the hall filled with silence. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, one by one, several captains lowered their heads, others snarled in defiance, but the tide had shifted. The fleet outside slowly broke formation, their weapons dimming, their engines softening. Daniel fell to his knees, his chest heaving. He had no weapon, no power, only words. Yet somehow, he had turned an army away from war. Tashari's hand touched his shoulder, her silver eyes glowing with pride. You have done what I could not, she whispered. You have given them a reason to hope. The alarms faded, the ship calmed, and the stars shone bright once more. Daniel stared at them, his eyes wide, his heart heavy. He knew the battle was not over, the galaxy was too vast, the hatred too deep, but for now, he had bought peace. Peace bought not with blood, but with the smallest Act 1 coin, one ticket, one choice. The flagship soared through the darkness, carrying with it the weight of a new alliance and Daniel. The ordinary human who had once been just another traveler now stood as the voice of Earth. He whispered to himself, almost in disbelief. All of this from a single kindness.